welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the time. So let's get into this. This is the 4th episode of The Rings of Power, titled The Great Wave. Not much to say beforehand. Let's just go ahead and get started. This show is I'm starting to get into a groove with this show. It's comically bad, and I'm having fun watching it, but it is becoming a chore just because I have so much to say about all of the crap that's here, and I just don't have, I don't know, I'm starting to run out of patience with it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't even know if I'm going to finish this, to be honest with you. This episode was really bad, and I am one episode ahead, so we'll see, you know. All right, let's get going here. So we open up on Screensaver 9 with Queen Muriel. She's having a bad dream. She's in the Great Hall holding some babies, and this big wave comes crashing through the island of Numenor, and then she wakes up. Then we cut over to, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it's Farazan. He's meeting his son in the middle of this market in Numenor, and it was silly because they're in a market, and his son, who I'm sure people know who his son is, he calls him father or whatever, or calls him chancellor or whatever, and Farazan is like, don't keep your voice down. We want to maintain a level of cover here. It was so stupid. And like, everyone knows who he is. He's walking through the market, shaking hands. It was dumb. So his son lets him know that they have an issue. And then we cut to this guy, a Numenorian, and he's standing in front of a group of people, and he's giving this really stupid speech. And I've never really talked about it before, but this show is really pushing the current politics or current agenda. Like they've talked about it before in interviews, and they say that, Tolkien, they need to bring Tolkien up to speed, and they want to make it more in line with current events, which is never a good thing. So we get this speech basically about immigration. It was so stupid. And this guy's speech is, these elves are stealing their jobs. They don't sleep. They don't rest. And it was just a really poor attempt at trying to talk about immigration through a fictional story, which was so stupid. So what's his name? What's his name? I just said it. Oh, Farazan. So Farazan, he comes in and he interrupts the guy, and he kind of insults him. And he starts popping off about how it's only one elf, and why are you so worried? And as long as he has breath in his lungs, he will never allow elves to rule the island, and Numenor will only be inhabited by men. And it was just really cheesy and stupid, and none of it worked. It was so dumb. And at the end of it, he says he calls for a round of drinks. And it was so stupid because he says this, and all of these barmaids come out and with trays, and there's all these beers on them, it's like a fucking Oktoberfest and shit. And it was like, did he plan that? Because we saw his son talk to him in the market and tell him of the situation, and then he shows up, gives a speech. Speech lasted 90 seconds, and then all these people show up with beers. It was stupid. None of it made sense. Just terrible writing. All right, so then we get to finally see the awesome and great Galadriel. She's having a talk with the queen. They're in the Great Hall or whatever at a table. And she tells Muriel about Halbrand. He's king of the Southlands, and she wants the queen to join her and Halbrand to go to the Southlands and defeat Sauron. Join the team, basically, is all her speeches. And she's being herself. Galadriel is so insufferable. She's so annoying. Every time I see her face, she just is so smug and arrogant. She has no likable qualities about her whatsoever. Her looks, her actions, everything. It's just, she's so annoying. And of course, the queen really doesn't insult her or talk shit to her. She's actually kind of kind with her and makes sort of light of the situation of hey, I've had a lot of crazy requests, and I haven't had one like this in a couple of weeks. And then she says, we're not going to do this. Numenor is going to stay where they are. And Galadriel doesn't get her way. So she has to start fucking lobbing insults. And she looks at, God, what's his name? Oh, I forgot his name. The sailor guy, Alador, whatever, doesn't matter. Isildur's dad. So he's standing there, and she looks at him, and he looks at her like he knows she's about to do something, and he sort of nods his head no. And we see Galadriel, the camera zooms in on her face, and she takes like this, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but it's like she's supposedly like, it's coming out like this, the warrior's got to come out now. And so the queen is already walking away from her, and so she turns and to face her, and she just starts talking shit, saying how you're not the queen. Maybe I should if I can't have an audience with you, or if you're not going to listen to me, if I don't get my way, essentially, then I'm going to go above your head, and I'm going to go to the man who rules this place, your father. And just, it was so, she has no like relatable, or she has no social skills. She really doesn't. She talks like a spoiled brat. She talks like some entitled Hollywood elite. Like, and it doesn't surprise me that elitists, like these rich motherfuckers who are in charge of Amazon and the showrunners and shit, that it doesn't surprise me that they write characters like this, because this is how they act. It's always, they know better, they're smarter, just shut up and listen. If everything would just get out of my way, then I will save the world. Like she is the embodiment of elitism. The way she speaks and acts, her shit don't stink, and she's not listening to anybody, and anybody who pushes back on her, she loses her shit. She throws a fit, and she has to challenge people, and it's just so annoying. So when she says this shit, and she makes a stupid line, I forgot. The queen says something about a tempest or whatever. She says, Galadriel says, "There is a tempest in me, and it would not be quelled by you, blah, 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 blah." And then we cut, and we see the door, a cell door shut, and Galadriel's locked up. So it was nice to see Galadriel sort of get a little bit of pushback. So many people so far that she runs into, they just sort of let her act the way she acts. She acts like a spoiled child that everyone is afraid to correct, because they know that her parents are like, they're great leaders, or they'll get in trouble. It's like she's like Joffrey from Game of Thrones. She talks however she wants. She says whatever she feels, and no one's gonna say anything to her. And if they do, then she's gonna fucking throw a fit, because that's what she does. She literally does. She has no negotiating skills. She doesn't have any social skills. She's very actually antisocial. She doesn't know how to speak to people. She's not a good person. She was willing to leave and let one of her soldiers die in the cold. Like, that was something that happened in the very first episode. And it was supposed to be this thing of like, oh, she's so amazing. She'll go through anything. She'll sacrifice anything to achieve her goal because she's so driven. It's like, no, you're a terrible fucking leader. You're in charge of a military unit, and one of your soldiers could die in this storm, and you're like, fuck him. Let him die. I need my way. I want my way. So if you're not going to be here for me, then we move on. And I don't know. I don't know how Amazon is getting away with this shit. And I'll touch on that a little bit too, because there's some news that came out this week about this show, and specifically the showrunners, and more of the just fan blaming shit. All right, so she gets locked up. Then we see Isildur. He is on a boat, and for whatever reason, he keeps looking off to the sky or over the horizon or whatever, and it's very on the nose that something is got his attention, like something is tempting him, because we actually hear whispers. Like, he keeps looking off, and you almost hear like a whisper, like there's something evil is calling to him. So he wants off the boat, and how he does that is he sabotages his job. He lets a line go, and his buddies are right there, but they don't have anything to do with it. Then the captain comes over and says, "Hey, what the fuck? You've been doing this forever. Why did you do that?" And then he actually says, "I let the line go," expecting only to get fired. And the captain ends up firing him and his two buddies, which made no sense. That was so fucking stupid. They had nothing to do with it. They just happened to be standing there. So if two other random sailors were standing next to him, would they have gotten fired too? It was just a plot convenience to where so they could have some friction between Isildur and his friends. And it didn't work. It was so stupid. The captain didn't even really explain it. He was just like, you guys are together, so you're all gone. It was dumb. Dumb as fuck. All right, so then, and so then we cut, and we see his friends. They're yelling at him, saying how, well, one of them is really upset. The other one's kind of dopey, and it's like he's the dipshit of the three. I don't know. They wrote him like he's just like, oh, whatever, like chasing butterflies and shit. He has no real commitment to anything, it seems, because he's not even really mad at Isildur. But the other friend, which again, I don't give a shit about their names, friend 1, friend 2. So friend 1 is all heated, yelling at him, and they get into a big argument, and it's just stupid. Isildur is, he's a fucking paper rag. I'm sorry, he's a wet paper rag. Yeah, wet paper bag. Sorry, I kept saying rag. He's just nothing. He doesn't have anything. We know the name, right? We know that in the flashback in Lord of the Rings that Isildur is somebody. We know this is going to happen. And I've watched a couple of the YouTubers that I like and listen to their reviews. Now, like I said, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a Tolkien scholar. I'm not a big fan of it. But I do know some comparisons to the movies for sure. There's some stuff from the movies that I remember, and I do know that Isildur is the man who won't cast the ring into the fire and takes it for himself. So we know, but it's just so on the nose. The show has no real ability to write fresh content. Everything that we're seeing, and I've noticed it more and more, is that these characters are all pulled from Lord of the Rings, and then they're sort of purposing other characters to be just like Lord of the Rings. Like, we're talking scenes that are completely copy and pasted from Lord of the Rings, actors that are acting exactly as their quote unquote counterpart would have acted in Lord of the Rings. So it's very unoriginal. What they're doing with these characters is so unoriginal. So when I see what's going on with Isildur, I'm like, okay, like this, they're shit. They're just shit at writing. This is just really bad. Anyways, so he gets into it with his friends. They have this real riveting back and forth, and then that's that. So then we cut over to Screensaver 5, and we catch up with Arondir, and he's watching Adar put one of his crony orcs to rest, putting him out of his misery, essentially. I think he was one of the ones that was injured during the little jailbreak scene at the end of the last episode. So they're trying to humanize the orcs, and Adar sees them as his children, and so he pulls a blade and sticks it in his gut and puts him out of his misery, and it was dumb. Like, they're trying to make the orcs like this, I don't know, they're trying to make them real human, and it's not working. Like, the orcs are evil. That's that. Can we just leave it alone? But they think it's really deep to make Adar like a father figure to the orcs, and that shit just ain't working. And then we see him have a conversation, he being Adar, with Arondir. And Arondir is like, it's so stupid. He finds this like arrowhead that's in the dirt right next to him, just fortunately right next to him. He's on his knees and he grabs it, and the show is trying to like get us ready. Like, he's about to take a swipe at Adar. And when he starts talking to Adar is being real cryptic and just says, you've been lied to. Everything you think that you don't know. And then he says, I want you to deliver a message. And deliver a message to the people in the watchtower. So the big tower that Arondir was in episode 1 with his commander and his fellow soldier or whatever, their fellow ranger, and those people from the village, Bronwyn and her son and all of them, they've all ran to the tower, that watchtower. So Adar tells him he has a message for them. Then he cuts him loose. And that's it. So none of that made sense, because, what if the show is just, everything is just sort of happening, just so convenient, just plot convenience, one after the other. Arondir could have been killed in that back and forth, but he wasn't. So was the plan always for this guy to be let go? Because he would not have even been brought onto Adar's radar had they not tried to escape. There's just, it wouldn't have happened, right? The only reason that Adar is even talking to him right now is because they planned an escape, they failed, and they were about to cut Arender's head off, and one of the orcs just says no, bring him to Adar. Why? There's just no reason. It's just for the show. It's just, everything is just happening. It's like dominoes. They're just sort of tipping over and knocking into the next one without any sort of creativity or reasoning to why things are happening the way they are. This is all just luck. This is fucking total luck. Arender should be dead. There's no reason for him to be kneeling down in front of Adar right now, because everything has been just happening to go his way. Like, luckily they didn't kill him. Luckily he was the one that was the last person standing. It was so stupid. This whole thing is just, it doesn't work. So then we cut over to the tower. We're still on screensaver 5, I think, whatever it is. And we see Bronwyn, and she's talking to the people. Like, there's her village, and more people are showing up from different villages, and they make a point to say that's every village in the area or whatever. And they don't have enough food for everyone to survive. Okay, they're trying to really set Bronwyn up as like this leader. Like, she is in charge now, strictly because she killed an orc, or a goblin, whatever the fuck. And it was a cheesy ass fight. It made no sense, but they're just setting it up so that they just really want Bronwyn to like lead these people. Okay, that's okay. I'm all right with that. But they're doing a shit job of building up her character, because while she's talking to the man who was technically in charge of the village that blew her off, and all the other men who blew her off, no men will listen to her. So she kills an orc, and all of a sudden she got promoted to leader. But that guy and there's another dude who's questioning, like, what do we do? She responds with, I don't know. Like, multiple times they ask her, what are we gonna do about this? What are we gonna do about that? I don't know. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Are you a leader or not? If they wanted to make her a strong leader, or at least learn her, like, go from being an apothecary or a healer to a leader of people, it would have been nice for her to maybe take some actions, maybe have some strategies. Even if they fail, right, she could learn from those mistakes. You could create a good character. You could create a leader, but they're just not. She's dumb. Like, she doesn't have any sort of direction. She's just sort of, and she always has this blank look on her fucking face. Like, it's worried, and she's like, I don't know. And it's just like, okay, well, what are we supposed to do? So in light of that, Theo, her son, he speaks up and says, we should go to the village, our village, and scavenge for food, because he seems to believe that there's food there. And she says, no, that's not going to happen. And it's like, okay, so what's the plan? And then she says, forge the forest again. They've already made comments about how the forest is empty. Everything is essentially run out of the forest because of the orcs. The orcs are chopping everything down. All the animals are fleeing, so on and so forth. So her strategy was just go try again. That was it. And so it just made her character look poor. And at least her son had like an idea of like, well, we should try this. And then she shoots it down. I don't know. They're doing a terrible job. And I like this actress. I've seen her. She was in a show called Homeland. And actually, there's some other stuff about her and Tom Cruise that I saw in this one documentary. And it was interesting. But regardless, I actually like her as an actress. But they're just, again, the show, poor writing, poor execution. This is what you get. Then we cut to Bronwyn's son, Theo, and he has a buddy with him, and they have a wheelbarrow, and they are at the village. So it was just a real quick cut. Like, Theo says it, she says no. Next scene, they're in the middle of the village. So time is really like skipping really fast here. And it's really hard because I'm struggling. There are things that are going on where I'm like, I have no sense of real time here. Like, it's breakneck speeds, and we're jumping from one thing to the next, and I just really don't have a sense of time in this show whatsoever. So they're collecting food, and Theo tells his friend we should go to the tavern, which makes sense, right? Because the tavern we saw, that's where everyone gathered. That's where all the food was. That's where you got drinks and where you can get beers and you can get something to eat. So they go, so his friend says no, he doesn't want to go in there. And they have the wheelbarrow, and it's got a decent amount of food in there. But we saw, like, there's got to be a couple hundred people now on camera. There's probably what, 30, 40. But I mean, we saw their village alone look like it had around 30 or 40 people. She's saying they have about 9 villages now. So do the math. There's a couple hundred people in this tower. There's not enough food here for them, but okay, at least it was something, right? So I'm just like, all right, whatever. But that kind of bothered me. It was like they were like, this was really gonna save the day. Regardless, let's move on. It just annoyed me. So he goes into the tavern, Theo, and while he's scooping, there's some rice, a bag of rice on the ground, and he's scooping some rice off of the floor into the bag. And it's just a small little pile that's on the floor, and the bag is big, like it's full of rice. It's like, just pick the fucker up and get the hell out of there. But again, just they had to write him to where he has to pause and take time and get stuck in a situation. It was so dumb. Like, they could have just had him grabbing food, grabbing stuff as fast as he can, and then the next scene happens. But no, they didn't. So he's on his hands and knees trying to get this rice off the ground, and they cut to his buddy outside with the wheelbarrow, and it's a sunny day. Okay, partly cloudy, sunny, and so there's clouds, and all of a sudden we see a cloud go over the sun, and that's the signal. That means orcs can now come out. And it was so stupid because we see, when they show the sky, we can see it's partly cloudy. So the sun is going to be going in and out of these clouds. But no, one cloud crosses in front, and all of a sudden the friend looks up and sees that, and he takes off running with the wheelbarrow. And they have that stupid shot, that Independence Day shot where the shadow is chasing him across the ground, and he's like running with the wheelbarrow, and the shadow's just like right behind him. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. It's very poor. They're trying to create atmosphere, and they're trying to create tension, and it's just not working. So then we cut back to Theo, and we get the sort of horror movie shit where we see something like swipe in front of the camera, and that he would obviously see, like, he's in frame, we can see Theo, and then something swipes in front of the camera. He looks directly at the camera as though he has no idea what it was, but he's in a room, and it doesn't create any sort of tension for me, because he should have seen whoever this was, right? Then he goes out, or no, I'm sorry. Then Orc shows up, starts attacking him, and he pulls out the hilt, and the hilt that he's been carrying around, the one he stole from underneath the village leader's barn, and he grabs it and he stabs himself. He holds it in his hand like you should with a sword, and then he takes the the butt of it, and or the pommel, I think was what you call it, and he stabs himself in the forearm. Well, when he does that, the hilt ignites and starts smoking and flames and shit, and then it becomes a giant sword. So what? Like, what the fuck is this thing? And it eats blood. So it's like, just drop some blood on it and you have a sword. It's so cheesy. It's just stupid. So the orc foolishly grabs for it, and he slices the orc's hand, and then he takes off running. And we get the stupidest, like the cheesiest of fucking shots of this orc, where he sees the boy run outside, and then he takes he has like a hood, a cloak, or whatever you want to call it, and he puts it up to his face like this, and runs out the door. And it was so stupid. It looks so fucking dumb. And not only that, but he covers himself, like he covers his face like this, and then he runs out, and immediately he puts his arm down. Immediately he just starts talking like nothing. Like he just, and you can see that it's it's light outside, and obviously there is this. The sun is still behind the clouds. You can kind of tell that. But it's so stupid. And he runs out, and when the camera goes outside, we see that there's multiple orcs in the village now. And there's a well right there, right where right where Theo ran out. He runs right past this well. So he looks at his friends, says, "It's here, spread out, find him." And then he goes to the well, grabs a pail of water, takes a drink, and drops the pail. And the pail goes falling down, and we see Theo. He's hanging on to the sides of the well. Dumb. Well, it hits him, and he makes a sound. The orc turns around, comes back to the well, and looks in. okay, you can see the bottom, you can see the water, and he just looks in real quick. Oh, nothing's there. He turns and walks away. And as soon as he moves out of frame, Theo splashes out of the water, takes a big old gasp of air. It's like he wouldn't have heard that. Theo made a little tiny sound when the bucket hit him, and it was just like, you know, and then the orc heard him from, you know, 10, 15 feet away. But then as soon as he turns away and Theo splashes out of the fucking bottom of the well, nope, couldn't hear that. It was so dumb. Just, it's terrible. It didn't make any logical sense. And it just, one more example, right? It's just, it's comical. This shit is, it's comedy. All right. So then we go to Bronwyn's son. It's now nighttime and he's hiding in the well. Oh no, I'm sorry. I skipped over one. Let me pack up here real quick. Yeah, that's right. That's coming up. So the stealth scene's coming up. So the elves and the dwarves, we cut to I forgot what screensaver. It doesn't matter anymore. So we see Celebrimbor. He's back at his forge with Elendor, or is it Elrond? No, what's his name? Elrond. Sorry, Elrond. Elrond's looking out a window, and we see this big construct in the middle of being made. Not like just getting started, ground's getting broken, we're pouring concrete or we're chalking lines. No, it's already ascended into like several stories high, and it's massive. And he makes a comment about how elves and dwarves, who would have thought they'd be working together? How much time has passed? Like, how much time has passed? They just left the mountain, and now all of a sudden they're I don't know, a third of the way done with this gigantic forge, the most powerful, awesome forge the world has ever seen. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. They have no, this show is just like, they're just throwing shit at the screen. I feel like there's no real continuity. I don't feel invested. I don't feel like I'm following a group of characters through a timeline or through a story arc. Just shit just keeps happening for no reason. So anyways, Celebrimbor, he talks to Elrond and he says that he knows Durin is hiding something. So then we cut to Elrond. He's now back in the mountain, which they travel to. I don't know, he just teleports there. So now he's back at Durin's home in the mountain talking to Disa, and he's questioning her about where Durin is at. She's obviously lying. He's calling her out. He sees his tools laying around and different shit, and she's just making shit up, you know. You can tell she's lying. So then we cut to Durin and Disa. She walks out of the house, and well, when I say house, it's like it's a home within a mountain. It's like this gigantic fortress inside of a huge mountain. Like it's a small town. Like it's very big. And she goes walking across this bridge that you can clearly see there in open, broad daylight, or you know, inside the mountain regardless. But the Durin meets her halfway. So she just says that Durin was gone doing whatever, and then she walks out her house and goes, you know, across the bridge, and boom, Durin meets her there, and they just start talking openly in the open, like, and he's asking her, what does he know? What does he think? And she's like, well, he believed it, yada, yada. Then we cut over to, the camera pans over and we see Elrond, and he's kneeled down just right outside their home watching them. And they're kind of far away, but he reads their lips and figures out that, you know, where Durin is. It was so stupid. It was so dumb. They couldn't meet somewhere like in private, you know, and make it some sort of a mystery. No, she just walks out the house, goes and talks to her husband, and they just have a conversation in front of everybody. And they, you know, how would Elrond know? It's so stupid. So then Elrond goes to the mountain or whatever, the mine that he read their lips. They said where they were, and so now he knows where they are. He shows up. The mine shaft is kind of empty essentially, and so then he knocks on the wall and says some magic words, and then the fucking door just appears, just so conveniently. He just knows, right? And there's no secret knock, there's no secret password that only the dwarves know, that only Durin knows, or Disa, or something, the king something. No. If you know these words and you knock 3 times or whatever the fuck, you just get in. It's just so stupid. And how would he know? He didn't even struggle. He just did it. Oh, jeez. All right. So then, where were we? Durin. So Durin comes out because Elrond makes it through the secret passage. Durin comes out, makes a big scene, says, "I knew I couldn't trust you," yada yada. And Aaron's like, "You're the one who's hiding shit." And they're being pretty cordial about the whole thing. And then Durin makes him pinky swear on the mountain. They have to say some fucking thing, and they touch the mountain, and that's like a pinky swear, and it's a big deal, I guess. And he tells him, Durin tells him what they're mining. He talks about this ore that they've discovered, and then he shows him a piece of it. Elrond, asks to hold it, and he looks at it, and then Durin tells him keep it as a gift, but he tells him you can't tell anybody. The pinky swear was you're not allowed to speak this to anybody. So that's going to come up, right? We knew nothing. The show does not do subtlety at all, or subtle. Okay, so then we cut over to back at Numenor. We see, I can't remember, I don't know how to say her name. It's like Erin. It's Isildur's sister. She makes a dinner date with Faharazan's son, Keeman, I think is his name. Quick scene. The daughter is just like here. They just wrote this character in. She doesn't do anything. It's like I thought she was going to have some sort of something to do with Isildur or something. No, she's just there. Every time we see her, it's like, why are you here? It doesn't make any sense. All right, so then we see Halbrand and Galadriel. They're in the cells talking, and Galadriel's telling him what happened basically between her and Muriel. And then Halbrand tells her, you did this, she didn't care. You did that, she didn't care. But then when you challenged her position about her father being the king, that's what her weakness is. She cared about that the most. So now you know her weakness. And she's being a bitch about it. She's like, how would you know? And she's being smug. And then Halbrand tells her these things. Now it's stupid writing still, but she can't just be cool about it. So then the guards show up. So Vaharasan and his guards, they show up to transport Galadriel off the island. 3 guards and Vaharasan, so 4 guys. This is fucking awful. This is the epitome of why this show is bad right here. This scene I was fucking laughing. So they open the gate. 2 guards are standing there, shoulder to shoulder. Another guard's behind them. Vaharasan standing off to the side. She walks out, and she's got that fucking smug ass look on her face, like smirky. She knows what's up, and she makes this. They go to grab her. She makes one move, and it was terrible. It did, and she slaps the guy. It was stupid, and he's wearing full armor. She has no armor on, by the way. So she slaps this guy, and the camera cuts immediately. She does one quick thing, then the camera cuts over to Halbrand, and Halbrand's leaning up against his cell, and Faharazan's standing right there, and he goes to pull his sword. Faharazan does. He goes to pull a sword, and Halbrand says, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." And then that he just stops. He looks at Halbrand, then he looks back over at the fight that we can't see, and his sword is still in his hand, but he didn't pull it. So then the camera goes back to Galadriel, and she literally is pushing one guy gently in the back, and he's being shoved into her cell, and there's 2 other guys in front of him, and they're just they're standing upright. They're not stumbling in. There's nothing, but we're meant to believe that she fucking manhandled these 3 guys and shoved them into this cell. And it was so fucking bad. And they being the writers and creators, they don't know dick about choreography, or they really didn't want to show this scene because it was really unbelievable. These guys are way bigger than her. They're wearing armor. They have swords. They're obviously trained. They know how to fight. Doesn't mean she can't put up a fight. Doesn't mean she can't give them a run for their money in the right circumstances, right? Maybe she uses her speed and her agility to best 1 or 2 of them. Something, right? No. They fucking did one move, one cheesy fucking move it looked stupid. The second I saw it, I'm like, oh, here we go. And then the fucking camera cut. And we look over at Halbrand and Faharazan, and then we go back, and she's literally just, her hand's on his back, and she just kind of pushes him, and he's just oh my God, stumbles forward. The other 2 guys are just walking in, and then she shuts the door behind them and locks it. It was so fucking bad. how can you get anyone to believe that? Who saw that scene and thought, girl boss, so awesome, Galadriel, you go girl? Who saw that? Who thought, oh my god, warrior queen, kill it, show those men what's up? They didn't even give her a fucking fight scene. It was nothing. It was so stupid. I fucking hated that scene. This whole scene was so fucking stupid. Ugh, so annoying. So then, when she, after she does this, I'm sorry, quick cut. So we cut back to Arian or whatever, Isildur and his sister. They're having a talk, sitting at some table somewhere in the middle of town, and they're talking about him being tossed out of the Navy and him getting his friends fired as well, and how he's feeling all down, and she's trying to cheer him up and blah blah blah. Wasted scene. So then we cut to Galadriel. And I think there was while they're at the table, I think there's some guards like running around, and then you hear the guards yell exactly what's going on to tell us that Galadriel's escaped. So stupid. So stupid. So then we cut to the tower where we saw the queen go up into her tower, and she spoke to her father off camera, right? So they don't show her climb the tower. They don't show her go through town. She left jail, Numenor's jail or holding cells or whatever you want to call it. She defeats 3 guards. Then she walks out of there. Faharazon is still not locked up. He just disappeared. Who knows what happened to him? So she just walked out and nothing. It's like they're just jumping. They just fucking missed all of the in-between stuff, like left everything out, and they just cut to the tower, and Galadriel kicks in the window of the tower. Now, this tower is probably, 200 feet tall? They don't even show her climb it. Nothing. We already saw her climb a fucking mountain with a dagger, because that's how ice climbing works. But she just fucking kicks in the window, and then boom, she's here. There she is, in the king's bedroom. It was so fucking bad. So bad. They don't know shit about writing. These are the worst. This is some of the worst fucking writing I've seen in a really long time. I mean, and I've seen a lot. There's been so much that just terrible shit that's gone on in the last 4 or 5 years. But this one, and that's another thing too that I discovered. I mentioned the price of this show, and I had it all wrong. I thought it was $100 million for the show. No. Amazon spent $1 billion on this show. $1 billion fucking dollars. And this is what you got. This is the best that they could do. Oh boy. Yeah, this is, I just can't. Fuck it. Give me a fucking slice of that pie. I'll write a better fucking show. Okay. I have rudimentary writing skills. I've written some in the past. I can write better shit than this. And I am just bottom barrel. These people are beneath even what I can do, and I am very, like I said, rudimentary writer. They're not even following or adhering any sort of rules, just basic writing 101. They are breaking all the rules, and it shows on the screen. It shows with the dialogue. It shows with everything. It's terrible. So back to the badass, awesome, can't lose Galadriel. She's in her Queen Regent's room, or her father's room now. And we see that her father is there. He wasn't exiled, but I thought we already discovered that, because homeboy, who the ship captain who finds Galadriel, he tells Galadriel when they first get to Numenor that the father was exiled and is living in this kingdom, which doesn't make sense because you can't be exiled and still live in your kingdom regardless. But they say he lives among the people. Like, okay. So no. He still lives in the tower, in his bedroom, and I guess he's sick. He's still alive, but he's sick. And it was supposed to be some sort of fucking reveal, but it was dumb. So when she walks into the room, we see the Queen Regent. She's at her father's bedside, and she's so fucking smug. She's like, oh, I had no idea. Talking about Galadriel here. And it's like, well, bitch, like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? Does that excuse it? Does that excuse your actions? Like kicking in someone's bedroom window and fucking storming into the king's bedroom like that? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was awake. I thought he was healthy. My bad. If I'd have known that, I would have fucking done something different. Come on. She has no social skills whatsoever. All right. So Queen Regent and her have a talk. It's whatever. It's just basically Queen Regent saying how she can't join the fight, blah, blah, blah. And she takes her to a crystal ball. and it's a big deal in Tolkien lore. The wizards have these crystal balls, whatever. They have a name, but I don't give a shit. And she pulls the little blankie off of the crystal ball and says, touch it. And Galadriel's like, she goes to do it, and the queen, warns her, like, just be careful. This is, no joke. And Galadriel, I've done this before. And it's like, okay, bitch, what haven't you done? Like, seriously, that you couldn't, there's nothing that this woman hasn't done, hasn't seen. She should literally just be a fucking, she is like this deity just walking amongst these fucking peasants. That's her attitude. Her attitude is like, everything she says, it's, you don't know what you're talking about. Just get the fuck out of my way. That's her tone. So she touches the fucking thing. She sees the same thing that we saw at the beginning, the vision of the wave crashing into Numenor. And she fucking holds her hand, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. It's this whole thing, this whole back and forth. This is leading up to some really fucking bait and switch stupid shit. But she says, don't be afraid. Don't let fear drive you. Join me and we'll fucking conquer evil. And the Queen Regent, and that's another thing too, is the Queen Regent is saying like, I've seen these visions. I know this is not, they're all not, or I'm sorry, I know this is going to come true. And then Galadriel's like, not all visions come true. And then she says, Galadriel tells her, don't let fear make your decision. And then she starts saying like, I know what it's like to be the only one. I know what it's like to be the only one who knows. And it's like, oh my God, she can't help herself. We have to once again hear her tell us how badass she is and how everyone's holding her back. She's the only one who has the knowledge. She can solve all the problems. She has all the answers. And if everyone would just listen to her, the world would be a fucking utopia. Jesus, she's just unbearable. Unbearable. All right, so the queen says no, she's not going to help. And then we cut back over to Theo. Okay, I'm not going to break down every little thing here, but essentially we see Theo get out of the well. Orcs are all over the village. They still haven't found him. It's nighttime now, full on night. And it was like a full stealth mode, like a video game. He's wandering between like their vision cones. Like if you play a video game that has any sort of stealth mechanics to it, some of them have torches, which means their vision can see further. So he has to really fucking bob and weave. So he stealth modes his way through the town, getting out, gets caught right at the end. Of course. And it's so funny because they do the thing where he's like smiling because he's made it out. He's like, yeah, I made it. And he's like, okay, something about to happen. He turns the corner, boom, orc smacks him in the face, knocks him down. Gear to kill him, and boom, here comes a fucking arrow or sword or whatever. And it's Arundr. Arundr now saves Theo. So he was released. Again, lucky as fuck, right? He was released by Adar at the beginning of the episode. Apparently, they gave him his bow, some arrows, and a fucking sword. Though they armed him as well. Adar didn't want him to run into any troubles with beasts or wolves or anything like that. Let's make sure he's packing. Let's give him some heat. That way he makes it back to the villagers to give him the message. So fucking fortunate. So he saves him, and Arundr and him, they get this really bad slow motion run through the forest, and it's really fucking dumb. They're running, and the music's kind of like really low where you don't really hear much but the sound of them running, your arrows firing and shit, but it's all in super fucking slow motion. This show loves slow motion. And they come across Theo's mother, Bronwyn. She's waiting for him. I think he gets nicked by an arrow or some shit. Theo does. So they make it all the way. They say, get to the sunlight. So they make it to the tree line. They get out into a field, and just lucky as fuck. It's so lucky because we saw Theo during the day come across these orcs in the village. It was daytime. The sun was in the sky, not setting. It was in the sky. So he was in the well all the way through the night. And now it's like fucking 6 a.m. and he's making his break out of the village because as they run into the opening, the clearing out of the forest that they're in, the sun is rising now. So he was in there for hours and hours and hours. And They get out into the field, they turn around, and the orcs won't come out. And they just stand there. The orcs just literally, we see them firing arrows the entire time they're running. But when they get into the open, no trees in their way, no bushes, no rocks, no nothing. They're on a nice open spot, and even the light's hitting them, so you got a really good shot at them. They just fucking stand there and don't do anything. And Bronwyn and Theo and Arender turn, and Arender draws like he's going to shoot, and then he's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And then they just look at each other for a minute, and it's still super slow-mo, and the music's like fucking supposed to be powerful and shit. And then they turn and start running. And then as soon as they start running, then an arrow or two goes flying by. So convenient. So convenient. Love it. Love the convenience of the show. There was some singing that was going on over that scene, and then we fade from that scene into back to Durin's Durin's home in the mountain, and the singing was actually Disa. She's singing to the mountain to spare the trap miners, and it's so stupid. It was annoying. Like, Disa's just annoying. I don't really like her character, but anyways, she gets finished singing, and then she turns and tells Elrond why she's singing so that we know. And she says she's singing to the mountain to free them or to spare their lives. Durin shows up, says, hey, guess what? All the miners made it out. We're all good. So then Durin is talking to Elrond, and he spoke to his father about the mine collapsing and how it was a bad idea. And he tells Elrond that we're not going to be mining for this ore anymore because it's too dangerous. My father has closed the mine, collapsed the mine, or whatever the hell he says. So Elrond and Durin have a nice little conversation that motivates Durin to go talk to his father. He goes and speaks to his father. And this actually, Elrond and Durin are really not that bad of characters. They're probably the most likable, believable characters in this entire show. Durin goes and talks to his dad. And, well, I'm sorry, before he does, oh, wait, was it? No, anyways, regardless, doesn't matter. So Disa's standing there, Disa, Durin, and Elrond, they're talking, and then Disa has to, like, talk over. We have to see that again, where Durin, she's, like, speaking over him and shit, and she's annoying. So then Durin goes and talks to his dad. His dad and him have actually a pretty good conversation. It's kind of heartfelt. And his dad says, I believe in you. I trust you. Follow your instincts. And it was kind of nice. I liked it. It was like the one time I was like, yeah, that actually wasn't that bad of a scene. All right. So then we get back to the tower, and we see Arender. He's telling Bronwyn the message from Adar to surrender. That was the big message. Surrender the tower and kneel before Adar, or in essence, kneel before Sauron, which was stupid. So then we go over to Theo. He's still got the hilt. He pulls it out, and he's looking at it. And then the leader of the village from the very first episode, it was his hilt that he found, or whatever. We don't even know how he found it. It was just in his barn under the floor for whatever reason. But he sees Theo with it. He has this creepy little talk with him. Basically, let's flip to the dark side. Let's go evil. It's the only way. And that's kind of the end of that scene. And then, let's see, where were we? Oh, so then we go back to Adar, or I keep saying Adar. It's Adar. We go back to Adar, and he's getting informed of the hilt's location from his cronies. And that's that. So now they know where the hilt is. It's in the tower, which I kind of felt like that's where we were going anyways. He even says this is for the message to the people in the tower. So it's very convenient. Everything just gets put in one spot. It's so nice. And then we get one of the biggest fucking annoying scenes ever. So Galadriel is being escorted off Numenor. We see the queen. We see Captain. We see Faharzan. And we see all of, like, a ton of Numenorians, like, watching her leave. And it's like this big send-off. And it's supposed to be emotional. And, music's, kind of like, oh, no, what's going on? Galadriel's got her smug fucking face on as usual. She gets on the boat. She never sits down. She doesn't sit down on boats. She stands only. And it's just a raft anyways. So they're taking her out on this smaller raft, obviously to a ship. And that's the big send-off. Queen says no. Galadriel's getting the fuck out of here. She turns to walk away, the queen does. And as she's making her way down this street, this tree of life. Everyone has a tree of life somewhere. The trees are a big deal in this show because Durin has one, elves have one, and now Queen Regent has one. So Numenor has one as well. And the leaves from this tree start to come off. They start to fall off and blow across. And it's supposed to be this real pretty fucking scene. And the Queen Regent, and this is one thing about her that I didn't mention earlier, she only has like one fucking look. Her look is always like, it's always really weird, and it's like she has these like big eyes, and she's just it's just terrible. Her acting's not good, and she throws the big eyes, and then we get this really fucking like kind of a lame speech, I think, but it's this really long speech, and it's a montage of like different scenes, things that are going on, whatever, different of all the different people in the show, and this ends with the Queen Regent essentially giving the speech to Numenor that they are no longer going to hide. They are going to join the fight. And then she turns, and then we see Galadriel. She gets this big entrance, and now she's, she comes down, and she's all like, got her smug fucking face on, and she comes down and joins the Queen Regent, standing above everybody, and that's where the episode ends. So it was so fucking weak. God, it was such a stupid bait and switch where we see Galadriel get sent away, and you would, you think like, okay, hero's got to run into some problems. The hero has to see that, like, the heroes are supposed to be dealing with adversity. Like, that's what makes them, that's what grows them into a hero. They have to lose and lose and lose and overcome and win towards the end, like kind of like a 3-act movie or a show or whatever. No, Galadriel just gets her fucking way. Like, everything she does, she just does whatever she wants. She goes wherever she wants. And it's supposed to be cool. It's supposed to be like, oh, she's so resourceful. She's so amazing. Girl boss. It just doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. And again, it's like, okay, so she gets sent away. Some leaves fall off a tree, and Queen Regent, that's the sign. That's it. Now we know that the Great Wave was because of Galadriel was sent away. Okay, whatever. If you say so, show. And that was it. Roll credits. So yeah, it was another fucking doozy. I mean, this show is just comical. I'm seriously debating on whether I'm even gonna finish the show and doing reviews, because I'm having fun watching it because it's funny, but I'm spending my time dealing with like putting the notes together and stuff to go over it. I don't even know. This one's I mean, this show is pretty bad. I've already seen the next episode, and it's really bad. It just doesn't get any better. And there's another thing too I wanted to touch on. Amazon, they're in full fucking hate the fan mode. They're talking shit to fans. There was an article that came out that I just watched a video on right before I cut this video, where they're just literally trashing people who do not agree with the show. So if you don't like the show, like myself, then there's something wrong with you, something wrong with me. They fucking swear that they are just the best thing for Tolkien, and they even say they are even now saying that Tolkien got it wrong, that Tolkien was really, he didn't really say it right, he didn't really do it right, so we're going to do it right. They're literally saying these words, like they needed to make things current because Tolkien got it wrong, and they feel like that making it be an allegory to current social problems is better, and it's better than what Tolkien wrote. They really just elitist, just the showrunners, actors, this whole Hollywood in general. It's the typical elitism bullshit where they fucking tell you and me, you and I, just how dumb we are, how we don't get it. We're just fucking simpletons. We're plebeians. We're fucking peasants, commoners. We should just shut the fuck up and consume. And, I'll be honest with you. I know I am kind of guilty because I am consuming this material, but I'm doing it for the channel. And I'm really struggling with that because this is trash. It's so bad. It's like, it's a really bad show. And to find out now, like I said, I was wrong about what they spent on it. It's $1 billion fucking show, the most expensive show that I've ever heard of. I think it's 8 episodes. So 8 episodes cost $1 billion. Boy. Yeah, this is $1 million turd. It really is. And just the fan blaming crap, it's just really getting tired. But that's their MO. That's what Hollywood does. Whenever they put something out that They want to send a message, make it current, make it about current politics, some social justice bullshit. They want their politics to be just front and center, and they don't give a shit about the art. They don't give a shit about the writing rules and keeping it simple and just creating good shows, creating good characters, story arcs, plot, dialogue. All that stuff just goes out the window in the name of agenda and message. And this is what we get. We get $1 billion fucking finger wagging, terrible acting, just plodding along, expensive, shiny fucking turd of a show. That's all this is. It is. And so, I don't know. We'll see. I may or may not finish this one. This was episode 4. I have 4 more to do. I've already seen episode 5. We'll see. This one's kind of grating, as you can see. But that was it. That was this episode. So, hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. If you think a friend might like it, share it with a friend. Click the subscribe button. And I will talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.